We call on all Zimbabweans who are here in South Africa to go back home. If they need help to go back home, they must approach the EFF offices. We'll be more than happy to rent buses for them to go home.
Wait a minute, is it true that Julius Malema had a real call for Zimbabweans to go back home? But why only now? What did the Zimbabweans do in order for him to ask them to go back home? Is this the right time for Julius Malema to call Zimbabweans to go back home? We are talking about a man who've been fighting day and night for the unity of Africa. How come for him to come today and ask another immigrants who are living in his country to go back home? What was Julius Malema trying to say here actually? We are talking about a man who've been fighting day and night for the unity of Africa continent. How come he have to come and ask another African immigrants who are living in his country to go back home? Is this about time for Zimbabweans to go back home? In his words, Julius Malema insisted more than 3 times asking for Zimbabweans to go back home. He even insisted to the point of offering them a public transport in behalf of the EFF in order for these Zimbabwean nationalities to go back home. But for what reasons? Of course, this is the same questions a lot of people have been asking themselves from the moment when EFF leader Julius Malema had made this announcement about Zimbabwe in his media briefing. Now this have become a serious debate out there to everyone. They want to know why Julius Malema have to say this. I saw even some media saying that Julius Malema have turned against his fellow Africans. Some they were even saying that for the first time Julius Malema he has opened his eyes. Well, now the question to ask ourselves is, are we all listening this message to the same way as Julius Malema had put it or not? So it is for that reason we're going to discuss in this video in details and try to understand exactly what Julius Malema had called Zimbabweans to go back home for. In order for us to understand everything correctly, we need first to listen to what Julius Malema have said. Then I'll be back for us to discuss more further.
The EFF wishes the people of Zimbabwe well on the upcoming national election, which will happen on the 23rd of August 2023. The elections mark a critical opportunity for the people of Zimbabwe to elect a government of their choice, to uplift the nation from the poverty that today defines what was once known as the breadbasket of Africa. We call on the incumbent ZANU-PF to resist the urge to practice violence against its political opponents and from any form of intimidation of citizens to coerce their vote. Zimbabwe needs to enter an era of political tolerance that is not defined by the history of violence and suppression, but the possibility of peace, prosperity, and continental unity. We call on all Zimbabweans who are here in South Africa to go back home and vote. If it means coming back, they can come back. They are more than welcomed. But they must do the right thing and go and vote. If they need help to go back home to go and vote, they must approach the EFF offices. We'll be more than happy to rent buses for them to go home and vote.
Now that we have understood what he was trying to say about this message, let us now try to dive in so that we can all be in the same point and try to clear up all this dead mind that people have been trying to poison people around on what Julius Malema had said. Because his message is loud and clear, and we need to overthink behind what this message is all about so that we can try to understand exactly what he was trying to say by asking Zimbabweans to go back home. Just in case if you were not aware, Zimbabweans, they are organizing their general elections which will have to take place in August, and therefore this is the right time that each and every Zimbabwean need to be ready in order for them to put people of their choice, people who deserve to be in power, people that they'll feel more comfortable, vote for them and place them in power. Because as we all know that in Africa we have these things of president who are in power. Most of them are not being voted by their people. Instead, they like to impose their leadership and try to trick the election so that they will remain in power forever and ever. And that is the reason why we've been having dictators all over Africa back in days, because this is what they've been doing time to time in order for them to remain in power. And we all know what has been the situation of Zimbabwe for some times now, since they've been wrongly imposed this sanction by the US Since then, things never been the same. The death of Robert Mugabe was something that's supposed even to bring that democracy elections. But whenever the election have to take place, we always have to hear some dramas of some people who have to come and prostate the outcome from those elections. And this is something that has been happening not only in Zimbabwe, but in many countries around Africa. And when this is happening, you find out that the citizens of those countries, they are the first one who have to keep on complaining, but yet they are not doing much to protect themselves by removing those kind of people in power and showing them that no, the majority of voice of people is something that needed to be listened to and be respected as it is their choices. Instead, what Africans do is to keep on complaining about what is happening in their countries. So Julius Malema came here to remind the Zimbabweans that you living outside of your country, it is not a solution to everything, and things will never gonna work accordingly to the way you wanted your country to look like. If you still sitting from the outside the country, you are not participating in your votes, you are not making your voice be heard out there, and yet you expect things to work the way you want it to be. That is when he asked them that we call upon Zimbabweans to go home and vote. He insisted, saying that even if you want to come back, you are welcome to do so. But for now, you need to go back home and vote. Here, perhaps he was trying to say that if Zimbabwe had organized the international votes for those Zimbabwean diasporas that were outside of Zimbabwe, and maybe that was going to be more easy and better for those Zimbabweans who are in diasporas. They can go to the embassy and vote. But as we all know, these politicians, these African leaders who don't want to let go of their power, that's what they usually do. Whenever they know that they can't have a proper vote from people and they want to trick the elections, they don't organize elections outside of their countries. They'll prefer to do the election to take place inside their countries so that they'll be able to corrupt and control the whole situations, so that they'll end up being announced as the winner of those elections, because they know that in the diasporas, they are very clever. There are people who are very waken. They have been waken up already a long time ago, and these people, they don't just vote for fun. They don't vote nonsense. They don't tolerate nonsense. And this president, they'll definitely not allow the citizens who are in diaspora countries to go ahead and vote someone else if it is not them. So that is the reason why they organize everything aside. And it is more obviously that is what Mnangagwa he did with Zimbabwean people, to not allow them to vote outside Zimbabwe. Malema, as clever as he is, he understood that no, look, we can't sit here prostrating, calling for the help from other African countries, and yet you had the chance for you to go back home and vote, but you prefer to remain behind and not let your voice to be heard through your votes. So he had to say that no, guys, you have to go back home. And he even said that if you guys need transport, you just have to approach the EFF, and the EFF will provide buses which will take you back home so that you can go and vote. But why Julius Malema have to insist on that part? Is it that he's having some personal business with the current president of Zimbabwe, Mnangagwa? Is it that he does not like this government of Mnangagwa or what? No, according to me, according to my own understanding, I don't think so. Actually, what is happening here is that Julius Malema, all he wants is the best for Zimbabweans. And since you know that we are neighboring countries, he kind of like wishing the best for Zimbabweans, because if things have to go good in Zimbabwe, all the neighboring countries in SADC, they'll find themselves doing good as well. Because whether we like it or not, the sanctions that the US with its alliance had imposed on Zimbabwean people, it also affects the whole Africa. Do you still remember what Zimbabwe was known of in Africa?
The one thing we will never allow anyone in the world to interfere with is our sovereignty.
If only you can remember that, then you'll understand that these things is having impact on other African countries. So what Julius Malema was trying to say here, he was trying to tell Zimbabweans something that I always tell you time to time. But me, I speak in behalf of all Africans when I say to you guys that Africans, we are on our own, and no one else will do things in our behalf if we don't do it for ourselves. So in other words, we are on our own because we are our own leaders. And that is exactly what Julius Malema, he was trying to tell Zimbabweans, that you are on your own and you can't sit here in South Africa, keep on protesting, keep on saying things that no, the current government are not doing good or they are not doing that and yet you expect things to change. Your voice is what can add something. Your voice can change everything, and you can do so by going back home to vote. So Malema had to remind these Zimbabweans that they are their own liberators, and it is their responsibility. That is how he finishes words. Julius Malema finishes word by saying this.
No one is going to fight for these Zimbabweans who are loitering the streets here. They are their own liberators. For once they must take responsibility and get into buses and go home and vote. Zimbabweans are called upon to go home and vote and stop blaming other people for their own misfortunes which they've got solutions to. And that solution is August 23, 2023, where they will vote for a government of their choice which will restore peace and prosperity in that beautiful country. If they need help to go back home to go and vote, they must approach the EFF offices. We'll be more than happy to rent buses for them to go home and vote.
Now that this message is out there, let us wait and see if we will see some courage from Zimbabwean people, if they can be able to do this, to go back home and add their voices to these upcoming general elections. Let us wait and see if they'll be able to do that. Guys, you know, there is this one thing I keep on saying time to time, for those who always watch us, by the way, is that we can preach day and night about the unity of Africa. We can preach on how for Africa to come with its own currency. We can preach on how Africa should come with one language. We can preach of how African we should love one another. We can preach on how Africa should stand against the open eye mass system that they've been imposing on Africans for so many years. Yes, that sounds beautiful, isn't it? But the truth here, or one thing to keep in our mind here, is that if we don't stand on our own and assume our responsibility, if we can't stand as our own liberators, trust me guys, we can shout day and night, nothing good is gonna happen. In order for us to bring change, we need to have that courage. Yes, we need to be more firm. We need to have that strong courage. We need to have that courage in our language. Even when we talk, the whole Western can get to fear. They can get to understand that things are no longer the same. That courage, it's something else. Here, I'm about to play you another second video from Julius Malema, because I saw how people, they were trying to criticize him, saying that he have turned against his fellow Africans, which is not even the case. The poor man is just trying to waken up each and every Africans in order for them to assume their responsibility. And he did not start this march today. He did not start saying these things today. There's a couple of videos that I can play for you where you get to see Julius Malema asking Africans from different countries around Africa continent, asking them to assume their responsibility, reminding them that they are only liberators. So this is not the first time when Julius Malema have to have this kind of language. Perhaps this time he only tried to go even more far by being harsh on Zimbabweans and making even things more available for them in case if some of them, they don't have transport to go back home. Here's another video, Julius Malema. He was trying to explain his reasons why he liked Nigerians. I still remember very well when Julius Malema said these words. It had raised a lot of rumors to those who don't want the unity of Africa, to those who have some personal business against Nigerians. They had to treat Julius Malema in any way, but they could not listen to what was his message behind this. They could not try to understand what Julius Malema was trying to say in this message. But for those who were open-minded, they end up understood that yes, this is a fine example because it makes sense. Have listened to what Julius Malema had said about Nigerians.
You know, one thing I like about Nigerians is not about these things that you accuse them about. A Nigerian man, if he comes in here and speak, you won't doubt that this man has got confidence. So white people refer to them as being rude. That's why in Nigeria you don't find a lot of white people. Because when you speak to them and they don't hear properly, yes, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? And then you think he's fighting. Like, no, he wants to understand what he's not fighting. But you, they taught you that if you don't hear, sorry, sir, can you repeat that? So they enjoy that. They enjoy this submissive attitude of a black man because to them you are boys and girls. They don't enjoy a person who speaks standing firm, looking right into their eyes and unshaken. That's what we should be. That's what we should be. We must be, and that thing comes out of liberating the mind. But if the mind becomes permanent weapon at the disposal of the oppressor, you will never do anything. You will continue to think less of yourself. You ought to liberate yourself. You cannot be EFF and still be sheepish. Once you join the EFF, it's a first step of mental liberation. That I am not my ancestor. I am a generation now which will never take what my ancestors took from you. I will never tolerate that. So, they don't hate Malema. They are all shocked by this black man who can speak to them like that, who can speak like that, who can confront them like that, because all blacks must be submissive. And when they paralyze you, they even come and then patronize you. That no, you are better than them. Those of you who even speak in that accent of theirs, you even speak better than them. But I always get shocked that you say you don't want these colonial people, you want to be African, but you speak like Sir Ramaphosa. You can't speak like a person that you hate. You can't. You can't say, I hate these white people, they've oppressed us, they took everything from us, and then from there, you want to speak like them. Only in South Africa do we do that. You can go anywhere in the continent, including Zimbabwe, where they are educated better than us. They've got no accent. They've got Zimbabwean accent. They don't have this thing of yours because they've never seen themselves in the image of a white man. They saw themselves in the image of an African man and accepted education as a form of liberation, not as a way of mimicking the colonialist and the imperialist. Because some of you confuse being educated to be meaning I must talk like these white people. Otherwise, I am not educated. So, when we speak about a liberated man, it's a man who knows who she is and who he is. But once you've got a doubt about yourself, you will never liberate anyone. Because you are not liberated yourself.
Now, let us be honest for 1 second, guys. Just let us be honest with each other here. What Julius Malema have just said in his message, in this video, does it really make sense, yes or no? When Julius Malema had to give the example of Nigerian courage, does that mean something to you? Because I believe we're all familiar of the behaviors of Nigerians. How they talk, how they shout, how they do everything, and how they get to express themselves through their body language, and what they can take as actions. We all know how Nigerians behave. So this example that Julius Malema had said here, Does it really make sense? Yes or no? I believe your answer will be yes. Do you know why? Because Nigerians, when they talk actually, you feel like these people, they're about to stab each other. You feel like these people, they're about to shoot at each other. You feel like these people, they're about to cause a very big scandal. That's a simple conversation. Whether they're debating football, whether they're talking about something else, the way they get to talk, you feel like these people, they're fighting. But at the end of the day, just to find out that these people, they were not even fighting. Actually, they're having fun. They're having a conversation. What about when Nigerians, they are fighting now? You feel like these people, they're never gonna talk again after here. These people, they'll kill each other before this conversation finish. A Nigerian can even come and threaten you with a knife, with a gun in front of you, telling you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. And when you less think that it's going to kill you, it's not going to do nothing. So having that authority voice, but in actions, there is nothing. And those are the techniques that need to be applied in order to defeat the enemy. Julius Malema went far to compare the difference between Nigerians and South Africans. He says that when Nigerian is talking to a white man, they express themselves even through the body.
A Nigerian man, if he comes in here and speak, you won't doubt that this man has got confidence. Because when you speak to them and they don't hear properly, yes, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? And then you think he's fighting. Like, no, he wants to understand what he's not fighting.
You are talking to them quietly, but the way they will respond back to you, you feel like, oh, what's wrong with this man? What's wrong with this woman? Why is he having this kind of tongue on me? But on the other side, when we are being told something and we do not hear properly,
they taught you that if you don't hear, sorry, sir, can you repeat that?
Sorry, ma'am. I did not hear you, ma'am. What are you saying? Sorry. Sorry for what? And this is what had given these people the power to think that they are above Africans, to feel like they can do whatever they want to do, to feel like they are the boss, even in your own land. Because of that respect that we get to give them, to the point of them feeling now that they are above us. So whatsoever they will say, we'll just say, yeah, boy, yes, sir, yes, yeah, I'm gonna do it now. Yeah, right now, I'm gonna do it. That is what we call change of mentality that Africans, we need to change. So myself, I totally agree with Julius Malema on this fine example he gave of our Nigerian brothers. He spoke his mind, where we get to see Nigerians speaking their minds without being threatened by anyone. We can't defeat the open eye mass system if we still have these things of sorry, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm gonna do it now. Yes, sir. No. Have you asked yourself these simple questions for, I don't know which part of the world you are watching us? Some of you African brothers, maybe you are watching us in Europe, some in America, some in Australia. Some of you are even working for some of these Western in Africa. Tell me or ask yourself this question. Every time when you go to them with that so-called respect that you always provide for them, and you talk to them, have you seen them having the same reactions as the one we are having for them? Whereby they'll look at you, they'll be like, yes, sir, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it now. Yes, like shaking. Do they do that? I doubt. They don't do it. Do you know why? Because they don't see you in the same way that you are trying to see them. You are trying to impress them, and this is the reason why you see them making Africans to betray one another. They'll come in Africa, they'll work with a certain government, a certain president, they'll use them as their puppets. When things start going sour between the two of them, then they'll leave that so-called puppet government and they'll replace him with another person. Not someone who's coming from the open eye mask, by the way, but they'll pick someone either who was also there in that same government and use him. Because We all have the same body language because we all get to react in the same way. And that's what Julius Malema was trying to say here. That no, sometimes if you want to succeed, sometimes if you want to do good, sometimes if you want to be respected in the same way that you've been busy respecting other people, you need to be straight. You need to do things in a different ways. Julius Malema did not ask anyone to go and disrespect someone. No. He simply gave a very simple example. You need to be a fearless man, a fearless woman. You need to show people that you are African. As an African, you know what is right for you. Malema gave his own example, said that white people refer Nigerians being rude and disrespectful. Is that the case? No. They are finding them being rude and disrespectful because they don't show that fear. They are looking you into your eyes as you talking to them. As you address them, that they're looking at you and they speak with that high tone. So that if you trying to use them, if you trying to disrespect them, you'll think twice. And they're afraid of such kind of people. Even to do business with them, they'll think twice, like, oh, if I mess up with this one, it's gonna crap me. So that is something which we should at least agree with him on, that whether we like Nigerians or not, but the message is loud and clear. If we can all as Africans have that kind of a spirit in our language, get to address the matter as it is, get to speak the truth no matter what, you'll see things will start changing around without us even making a big effort. So the preaching or the message that Julius Malema was trying to give here, it was all about telling an African child that you need to be your own liberator. You need to liberate yourself from all this open eye mass system, from all this nonsense that we've been seeing around Africa. He did not ask anyone to go and disrespect someone. He simply asked Africans to understand that you need to have a certain language to address people at the right time, at the right place, when they're being asked stupid questions. He even went far to give his own example, saying that they are not afraid of the person called Julius Malema.
They don't hate Malema. They are all shocked by this black man who can speak to them like that, who can speak like that, who can confront them like that, because all blacks must be submissive.
Of course, they are afraid of that spirit that is holding, that fire that is inside him. And now imagine if Africans can start having the same language, whether it is the place of your work if you are working for one of them, whether it is in the mission of service, whether it is within your right when you feel like they are violating something, whether you find out that your president, he is a puppet president who's being misled by these people, and you stand against him and tell them that no, you have to leave our land with an immediate effect, leave our president alone because we don't want what you guys are doing. Do you think that these people will continue doing this nonsense around Africa? Another example I want to share with you is when Julius Malema was marching on African Day to the France embassy. We all know, and we had spoke about it, we all know what happened that day, isn't it? Whereby they were doing a peaceful march and they had their memorandum which they're supposed to read to this France embassy. But he had to try to sabotage them until Julius Malema had to come and remind him that this is not France, this is South Africa. And what you've been doing to the western of Africa, don't even try to do it here.
We're waiting for these people to come out, because we are not going to read this memorandum without this imperialist and murderers come outside. And if they don't come outside, we are not going to leave here until they come outside. So they must stop wasting our time. We are not here to play games here. If they think we are part of the nonsense they've been doing in West Africa, it stops here. We are not West Africa. And we're not going to allow that nonsense. We come here peacefully. And we want the France embassy to act peacefully and not provoke us. So they must come outside and receive the memorandum. Otherwise, we are not going to start. Otherwise, we are not going to live here. And by not living here, they will not live here. We are going to divide ourselves. Others will go and occupy the main road there. And others will occupy the gate of France embassy. So stop wasting time. The French white supremacists are not going to dictate to us on how we must protest here in South Africa. No one is going to fight you. No one is going to beat you. You have killed a lot of people in Africa. Why are you scared today to come out and face Africans?
That kind of spirit, who's not going to be afraid of you? Because it is these same people who've been doing the same nonsense around Africa, especially in those French-speaking countries, whereby they'll do something and call for the police to come and assassinate its own people. For an example, they'll call for their puppet government to tell them that there's some group of people who are in front of their ambassadors are busy protesting and we don't want to see them here. And that current government will have to send their police who will come and throw the tear gas on them and even real bullets to the point of assassinating their own people. So on that day, Julius Malema had to remind them that no, this have to stop. And he had even encouraged each and every Africans in those countries to at least start doing things in a different way when it comes to address this kind of people. And we also how the arrogance that ambassador had that day had finished because he had found himself in front of the truth. And the truth here was one of Pan-African Julius Malema who had to tell him the truth. And that is what we need to be doing everywhere. So guys, now you understand that this march of Julius Malema trying to remind Africans that they are their own liberators, it did not start today. This is something that he always do time to time. Whenever he call about Africans, he had to remind them that guys, you are your own liberators. And here we always tell you also that we are on our own as Africans. If we want to do good tomorrow, then we need to start doing what is right. For an example, by starting correcting the mistakes whereby you sit, your job is just to sit on the comments, insulting other people, criticizing other people with their English accent and everything, or telling people where they are from. And that is nonsense. That is not what is going to make Africa of tomorrow to win. You're busy criticizing what is going wrong in your government, in your country, but yet you are sitting somewhere and yet you are not doing something about it. If you have the opportunity, if you are qualified for you to go ahead and vote in your country, go ahead and make your voice be heard out there. Your voice will count at the end of the day. That is how we get to change things around. If you are everywhere around the world, whether you're in America, Australia, India, Russia, China, everywhere around the world where you find yourself in, if you feel like no, you need to come and do something back home here in Africa, you have to come and do so. I was so excited. Yesterday I came across one of the comment in our previous video. There were this lady, when I look at her, I believe she's in America. She commented and saying that after listening to what we said in that, or what we discussed in that video, she was so moved and excited to come back to Africa. She said, I quote, "I would love to move back to Africa and be with my people." It is in that way, that kind of spirit we need in us. We need those kind of Africans, because when she comes home with that African spirit, Ubuntu spirit, I mean to say, we'll definitely try to put our power together and try to defeat the open eye mass system and try to find ourselves that true freedom by liberating ourselves from all these bad things that we get to see. So that is how we need to start thinking. We don't need to see like, oh no, why someone like Julius Malema have to say this, blah, blah, blah. No, his message was loud and clear. You Zimbabweans, you need to do something for yourself first before we get to walk in. You people from Botswana, you people from Mozambique, you people from Nigeria, you people from DRC, you people from all over around Africa, you need to do something for yourself before other Africans come to give you an end. You are fighting maybe a dictatorship. You are fighting maybe unemployment. You are fighting maybe something. You need to do something first before other people come and walk in to help you. That is how we'll definitely liberate the whole entire Africa continent. But if we sit and we choose our job to be criticizing other people through the comment section, to be talking nonsense in the social medias, then we're never gonna go anywhere. We'll remain like this forever. And that is not the case, because we all know that this is a new generation. We have understood that our forefathers' times have passed. They did what they could, and they failed to do what they're supposed to be doing. So this is the new generation. We're going to do things differently. Yes, we're going to have that courage as the one of Nigerians when it comes to the way they get to talk. We're going to have that courage of trying to face our enemy and telling them the truth like this, because they have to understand that things are no longer the same. That was very important, that I had to come here and try at least to give you my analysis on what the president of EFF, Julius Malema, had said, because I get to see how some people were trying to, having some negative thought, saying about what this men have said. So I had to come and try to develop it in details and try to make you understand that his message was simple. Do something for yourself before someone get to do it for you, because you are your own leader, you are your own liberator, and you have to assume your own responsibilities. So that is something that we need to benefit. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. If this is your first time to be on this channel, you are welcome to this big family. What we do on this channel, we do educate, we encourage each other, and we try to discuss more about Africa, where we've been yesterday and where we are now and where we are counting to be tomorrow. So if you don't want to miss any of our videos, if you want to benefit more of this kind of topic, then you just have to follow us in our social media, and we'll really do appreciate that. But above all, don't also forget to give us your thumbs up, because it will really benefit us. We want this kind of message to reach many audience out there, especially Africans, so that we can get to waking up each other, so that we can all be in the same page. For those always watch me, guys, thank you so much for taking your time to watch again this video and showing us your love through the comments. We really do appreciate as we get to see all your love that we are sharing to us. My name is Dobson Nyembe, for those who don't know me, and I'm your presenter. I'm here to give you our analysis and our commentary on different topics. So that will be all for today. For now, continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. Stay out of trouble, because we still need you here in this channel. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.